Since the early 1920s, it had looked much the same, an imposing building that served as one of the main attractions on Nicollet Mall. But early last evening, flames were spotted inside the old Donaldson's building, flames that quickly spread to the Northwestern National Bank. And tonight, there is a very different scene on Nicollet Mall. Two buildings continue to smolder after one of the worst fires in Minneapolis history. That story dominates tonight's 6 p.m. report.
At Powers After Thanksgiving sale, you can do your Christmas shopping without letting anyone know.
Who's Christmas shopping?
Kodacolor 2 film gives you color prints so real-looking, it may surprise you. It's from Kodak, of course.
Only Chrysler has 10.9 financing on many new 83 American-built front-wheel drive cars and pickups. Ford and GM don't. Buy a Dodge car or Dodge truck. Plymouth or Chrysler. Save hundreds on financing. Many new 82s have 10.9 financing. And you get $300 to $1,000 back only from Chrysler. And all Chrysler's new American-built cars come with 5-year, 50,000-mile protection. Only Chrysler has 10.9 financing on 82s and 83s. Compare. You'll come to Chrysler.
Edition of the 6 p.m. report.
It was visually spectacular and economically devastating. And in the end, the Thanksgiving night fire of 1982 was true to its name, as thankfully, not a life was lost. Dave Nimmer will offer the fire story, how it may have started and how it was fought. Then Barb Brown will pick up the story of what the city awoke to the morning after. Northwestern National Bank lost much of its headquarters. Tom Hendrick has that story. And many downtown retailers also felt the heat. Colleen Needles will detail that story. And tonight we'll also show you how in the midst of the fire in Water, Charles Lindbergh's first plane, Jenny, survived. All these stories are part of tonight's special edition of the 6 p.m. report. Good evening, everyone. The two buildings in the heart of downtown Minneapolis continue to smolder tonight after a devastating fire.
The 5-alarm fire took its toll on both firefighters and property. 10 firemen were treated for smoke inhalation. 1 fireman may have suffered a heart attack. Meanwhile, estimates of the damage to the buildings is running now as high as $30 million. Tonight, more than 24 hours after the flames were first spotted, some Minneapolis firemen remain on the scene. And Dave Nimmer is standing by live now with a report for us. Dave?
Well, Pat, the fire was, of course, a disaster in terms of the dollar damage, but in many other ways, the firefighters in the cities were lucky. The building was empty, and there was no rush hour traffic. That also meant there were not many witnesses to turn in alarms, so the fire did get a good start. Flames were 80 to 100 feet high by the time the first crews arrived. But if yesterday had been a work day...
I think we could have had a real disaster if it started and got that head start like it did on a work day. We could have lost a lot of people.
The consensus is that firefighters did well to contain the blaze to 1 block. They were aided by the fact that no burning walls collapsed on other buildings and that the wind was a calm 2 miles an hour. And then again, things could have been easier.
The way to fight a fire like this is build the protection into the building.
And this was not sprinkled, Northwestern National Bank building?
No, when it was built, it was not required to be sprinkled.
Would sprinklers have made a difference, Chief?
Yes, they would have. I think the damage would have been very slight from fire, but we may have had a lot of water damage, too. But we could have saved a lot more of the building.
This morning, arson investigators were poking through the smoking rubble. There had been early reports of arson, of a man who told passersby that he started the fire. But some of those reports are conflicting, and now investigators say they do not know whether the fire was deliberately set.
I have my men out investigating as far as following up the tips and the rumors, sorting them out, putting them together with the time that we know the fire started, etc. And then, as far as I'm concerned, learning the path of travel to be able to put it in one spot rather than within the bank.
Well, arson investigator Carlson is an old hand at these fire probes, and what he says right now is that the probabilities are 50-50 between arson and some kind of spontaneous causes. He says he can't see a reasonable motive for anyone starting the fire, and yet he admits, Pat, it sped very, very quickly. And I guess those are questions for the days ahead. Pat?
Thank you, Dave. Did they have any idea at how long it might take them to find out, Dave, if indeed it was arson based on their investigation of that building?
One of the problems, Pat, is they can't get to the source of the fire. It was in the pile of rubble, which is just like kindling, adjacent to the Northwestern National Bank building. And, of course, it's going to take a little while before they can get to that pile of rubble and sift through it and find out whether there are any, for instance, incendiary materials.
Okay, thank you, Dave. As the search goes on for the cause of last night's fire, some city officials are trying to tally up the cost now. It is likely the final bill will put quite a bulge in the city budget, but this morning city crews found themselves facing more immediate problems as people began reporting for work. Barb Brown has details.
The sun rose this morning over a smoke-filled downtown. Employees of companies located all around the fire scene had to find new routes to work. Some crossed barricades, inching their way along icy sidewalks below windows, even though every so often pieces of glass came crashing to the pavement. Others asked directions to work, still others just came to gawk. Flames continued to pour out of Donaldson's windows in the early hours. Later it was just the smoke and ice that drew the crowds. Many observers, including Mayor Don Fraser, are somewhat awed that it happened.
Somehow you couldn't believe that something like that would happen in the middle of downtown. I mean, you could think of a rickety old wooden structure, but these modern steel and structures you somehow think should be immune from this kind of a fire.
City officials are still trying to assess the costs of fighting the blaze. The highest cost will be for overtime pay to firefighters, up to 1,000 hours at time and a half. Police officials say their reserves saved the day for them. 90 reserves volunteered their time for 10 hours each. Officials still haven't determined just what will need to be done in terms of street repair. Through it all, there's a sense of relief that it wasn't worse.
Well, it was a disaster, I think, for that block. It could have been a disaster of much greater proportion if it hadn't been contained. So I think that's what we're grateful for.
Officials aren't estimating how long cleanup here will take, but certainly many Minneapolis residents will remember this fire for a long time to come. Barb Brown, WCCO Television News, Minneapolis.
When it's all said and done, probably no one will remember this fire better than employees and customers of Northwestern National Bank.
The upper floors of the bank were heavily damaged by the fire, and today bank officials announced some special steps to help meet customer needs. The downtown office remains shut down, but tomorrow all Northwestern Bank branches will be open at 8 in the morning to 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Tom Hendrick has more on the effects of the fire on that bank.
Much of the building went up in smoke, but not the bank's records, much to the relief of worried customers.
I got a pension coming from there. Through the main office.
I don't know what happened.
Well, I'd asked them to do everything is okay.
Vaults containing cash and safety deposit boxes remain secure and safe. The Northwestern branch offices handled all other transactions. Checking accounts, savings accounts, and mortgages all are duplicated and computerized, so there was no problem conducting business normally done through the main office. There were just a few customer traffic jams.
It may be about 15-20 minutes. There's quite a few people waiting right now.
Oh, it's just too bad that it had to happen, but I suppose it's better that day because there wasn't that many people milling around.
Some 3,000 people worked in the bank building. They were told to stay at home today, too, for the time being. You're anxious to get back to work?
Yeah, I am. I think I missed it now that I don't have it. I always wish I have the day after Thanksgiving off, but I don't think I want it that badly.
Of the numerous businesses which had subleased space from the bank, Faegre & Benson was the biggest. It is the second biggest law firm in the state.
I'm sure there were many records that were irretrievably lost. However, in most cases, a law firm is working on a matter in a lawsuit, for example, with another party, so that those records can be replaced and the files rebuilt.
Precise damage estimates will not be known for days. Meantime, hundreds of employees are expected to spend this Thanksgiving weekend setting up new offices elsewhere. I'm Tom Hendrick, WCCO Television News, Minneapolis.
The fire meant that the traditional beginning of the Christmas shopping season got off to a smoky start today. We'll have that story and more in just a moment.
When you're looking for gift ideas, you'll save time with one-stop shopping at True Value hardware stores. Surprise someone with this GE toaster oven that bakes, broils, and toasts food. Or a 12-cup Mr. Coffee brewer with digital clock and automatic timer. And any cook will like the convenience of a 14-speed Oasterizer blender or the versatility of a KitchenAid food preparer. Available at participating True Value hardware stores who wish you a very happy holiday season.
Here comes my Toyota Supra. No, that's my Datsun 200SX. My Supra has a 5-speed overdrive transmission. So does my 200SX. Mine has electronic fuel injection with the McPherson strut suspension. So does my 200SX. I guess they're pretty much the same. Not quite. My SX costs $5,800 less than your Supra. Now that is a great feeling.
See your Minnesota Donaldson dealers. They're driven to save you money.
Begin tonight's performance with a gift of love from Box Truck Jewelers. A beautiful ring with the magic touch of rubies. Or magnificent emeralds that dazzle the eye. Savor the moment with the elegance of a shimmering sapphire ring. Or one aglow with the fire of diamonds. Wear a dinner ring tonight from Box Truck Jewelers, downtown St. Paul.
This is the day that cash registers traditionally ring loudest in downtown Minneapolis, the unofficial start, of course, of the Christmas shopping season.
Well, some of the merchants today found that the ring of their cash registers were drowned out by the sounds of sirens instead of shoppers' cleanup crews at the scene of the fire. As Colleen Needles reports, even businesses not touched by the flames and smoke found themselves feeling the effects of last night's fire.
By all accounts, this should have been a banner day for downtown merchants. The streets were packed and people had to wait in line just to get in and out of the stores. But unfortunately, not all these people came to shop.
To see the fire.
Did you come down to do any shopping?
No, just to look. Just to gawk. Just what we weren't supposed to do.
Did some shopping also. I wanted to see where my old office is. It was on the 16th floor of the building. I'm just on the corner office. And I see that it's completely gutted by fire. We moved out 5 months ago. Thank goodness.
Business was down throughout the area, a sobering disappointment for many merchants who had hoped holiday shoppers could boost sagging sales. The J.C. Penney store at 6th and Nicollet sustained minor smoke and